Megan's eyes fluttered open. She lay on her back, shivering from the late-night dew that covered the grass. Darkness surrounded her, but with the passing of a cloud, the moonlight allowed her to see large pine needles above her head. "Huh?" Megan exclaimed out loud, sitting up quickly. She strained her neck and stared up at the pine needles, which hovered over her head. No, they're not hovering, Megan realized. As she looked to her side, she noticed familiar-looking yellow branches and a trunk. Megan slowly got to her feet and walked towards the trunk. She ran her hand over the sickly-looking bark. It wasn't rough and sturdy like she thought it would be. Instead, it was mushy and smelled like decaying eggs. Disgusted, Megan wiped her hands on the grass. A pungent smell now came from her hands. However, it didn't smell the same as the bark. Megan raised her hands to her face and gagged in response. She hadn't noticed earlier, but the dew also smelled horrible. "What is this place?" Megan muttered. She took a few steps forward, and then she began to run. She had to get to the end of the garden, or, in her wildest fears, the edge of the pot. Megan left the slippery grass and trekked upon rich, dark soil. She could no longer ignore the alarm bells, which were going off in her head. "I'm in the potted plant," Megan thought in a panic. "How could this happen? I must be dreaming." Megan was so wrapped up in her thoughts that she didn't notice she'd neared the edge of the pot. A shrill scream escaped from her mouth as she tripped over the edge and began to fall. Megan experienced whiplash as a large net caught her and sent her flying upwards. She shook from her near-death experience as she was lifted up. As Megan was pulled back into the pot, she came face to face with 4 little, evil-looking men. She let out a scream and struggled to free herself from the net. "She's a silly one," said one of the little men. Hearing the man's voice made Megan silent. He spoke in a squeaky tone that would either make you laugh or wince and cover your ears. Megan stared at the 4 men from behind the netting. They were shorter than her and had unusually large heads. Their eyes were so big and black that she was unable to tell where the pupil ended and where the iris began. Maybe they don't even have pupils, Megan thought with a shudder. The men were chubby and dressed in a robe-like outfit, which was split in half by the color red and green. Although they wore the traditional colors of Christmas, they looked anything but jolly. Their glossy black hair made them look very evil.